I have a sort of different style video for you today. So I'm actually talking live along with my practice, and I am trying to, at the moment, just resolve some tension here that's actually showing up through my vastus lateralis. So it's the lateral aspect of my quadricep. It showed up from dragon boating, actually. So I was positioned in the boat on the left-hand side. So the action I had to connect with pretty repetitively was lifting my oar, twisting my trunk, facing to the right, pushing my oar down into the water and rotating my trunk down toward the left direction, bringing my oar back up, and then as you can see, it's a good core workout, right? So the typical definition of core, relating to these muscles underneath the rib cage above the pelvis. And actually through that action, since I was sitting on the seat, I had to stabilize that action through the left side, the lower left side of my body. So what I'm going to do today is just start to bring some good circulation through the muscles of my lower body. Of course, I'm going to incorporate some upper body movements and really be intentional about connecting my breath with the movement of my spine, okay? So what I'm gonna do is just begin with feeling the exhale link to abdominal wall contraction and inhale to chest expansion. Through that process, I'm encouraging my breath rhythm to slow down. I'm going to begin with just some walking style movements back and forth, and I'm going to connect with the water viscosity that shows up. It's going to fire up some of the balancing mechanism in my structures. So I'll link it to with my breath, and then I'll explain what I did. So what I did was I linked exhale to the belly contraction, and I brought around that basic movement my knee coming toward my chest, okay? And then with the inhale side of the breath, I was focusing more on chest expansion and feeling my sternum move forward, my arms move out to the side, just letting my right foot land forward and down. And I'm gonna repeat that exercise with the left knee coming toward my chest with exhale, and then stepping forward with my left foot in front of me with the inhale side. is asymmetrical movement through the lower half of my body. You notice me wobbling around a little bit. That's actually a good sign. So that's kind of uncovering, showing to me some of the movement patterns I have, the way that my muscles are attempting to stabilize my structure. So now I'm going to just connect with the symmetrical upper body, lower body movement and feel a little bit more succinctly the relationship of my inhale, the upper back flattening, and my exhale, my low back rounding. And then I want to continue along this idea of symmetry, and then what I'm going to do now is work through this contract-release pattern through my quadriceps. I'm going to use the help of a pool noodle. So for me, my body tends to really want to sink in the water, especially when I'm at this chest height level. So I'm going to insert a noodle between my legs, and if you will, that's going to buy me time so I can work on the timing of feeling my inhale, moving through the whole length of it, coordinating all my movements through that, and then the same thing with the exhale. So, and then I think for the sake of the camera view, let me do a little adjustment. Let's see if that works. I'm going to adjust the noodle, kind of showing up in front of my face. The good thing about the repetition with these movements, like the same sets of movements, is that it gives you time to start adjusting and really paying attention to what's happening in your structure, again, your movement tendencies. So hopefully you were able to see how I was working through that one, just really paying attention. And I'm going to do now an asymmetrical movement again. So what you probably notice is with the quadricep contraction, it happened through the inhale side of my breath. On the exhale, not necessarily total release yet, right? So all I was doing was finding the flexion of my knee. I still had my hip flexed, so that's coming. So just gradually, progressively. I do know I want to stretch the lateral aspect there, especially of my quadricep, but I don't want to necessarily jump into that right away. I want to build the circulation around my knee joint and around my hip joint. So here's another movement I'm going to practice. I'm going to adjust the camera actually. Let's see if I can make the view a little bit better. Okay. today my right leg is definitely more stable with the upright work. My left leg, as it would make sense, is a little bit off. And yeah, I'll see if I can keep working through that. So now I'm going to go into a little bit more of the hip extension. The movement looks like this. Provide a side view, see if that is more helpful. So I know I need to do better about my exhale belly contraction. I'm a little distracted. I could really feel that through my front right hip flexor. So for me personally, my front right hip flexor tends to like to get into that excessive contractive state. I'm going to see what's going on with my left side now. Wow, that's very different. Okay, so as much as I thought I was experiencing this tension through the lateral aspect of the quadricep, which I still feel, it really showed up on the medial side. So that's going to help me be able to work through this next movement. And so now I'm going to go ahead and start stretching my quadriceps. So I'm going to use a pool noodle to help me out. And I'll just start with the right side. I generally feel like my right quadricep doesn't necessarily need as much stretching. Probably, if any, it's going to be more directly, so neither too lateral or too medial. Woo! So I have my knee facing downward, and if you can see, the noodle is, the buoyancy of it is helping to lift my foot up, so I can enjoy this without having to reach for my foot and all that. I'm going to play with controlling the directionality of my knee going back in different ways. So here we go. So definitely I feel that more directly through the middle of the quadriceps, so rectus femoris for sure. I'm going to try another version. So I don't know if the camera angle really showed that very well, but I started to take my leg back so that the hip joint was going a little bit of external rotation. That actually let me access the medial side, and there was a little bit of tension there, I noticed. So just a little bit, and being able to work back and forth through that was really nice. So I'm going to see how it shows up now on my left side. I'll go through the same process. So I'm going to start in the upright version, and then the sinking down version, you probably noticed I started going into more of what almost looks like on land, like the low lunge stance. I'm really feeling it in my quadricep right now already. I certainly felt that all the way from my knee up through almost like that inner thigh region, but definitely is through the quadricep. All right, so now I'm going to see if I can access things through this like outer hip chain, and I think I'll connect with the twist to help me find some release for that. I'm going to start by twisting facing to the right, sending my right leg over past the midline of my body toward the left. So not a whole lot for me through this outer hip chain. I would say down through the peroneals, maybe just the tiniest little bit of tension. Didn't need a whole lot of stretching. Goodness. That's all I'll say. Definitely interesting for me to discover down even through the peroneals on my left side. There's a lot of tension. I didn't realize that was there. So generally, it was really interesting for me to see the differences for sure between the right and left sides. So going to connect with symmetrical movement now. I think just bringing my spine some symmetry after all that rotational movement will be really nice. And I'm going to use the pool noodle this time. So it's always fun to try and figure out how to place the pool noodle because it will go at my face if I don't quite set it up just right. And honestly, that's okay. There's time to take care of it. Oh, let me fix the camera angle here. There we go. Wow, I even have some hidden tension at the back of my neck there. Starting to feel a little bit more symmetrical overall. Just a bit. We try, right? We try. Okay, so now I'm going to do a simple cross of one leg over the other. I'm going to start off with my left leg over my right, and here I go.
Is that your car out there?
Yeah.
Okay, I was really confused. I'm like, I've never seen this car before.
Yeah, it's...
And I saw the lights open a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Still here, all right.
Yeah. Well, that was very interesting for me because as much tension as I thought I had originally through the outer left hip, it already resolved. So I didn't really get that much of a stretch through that movement. So it was interesting to try though. I'm going to take care of my right while I go for my left. Almost the same story, really. They honestly felt pretty similar, outer right and left hip. So not a whole lot of stretch, but still nice to really be able to connect my breath with my spine. Okay, well, I will just finish off with some more symmetry. I'm gonna go ahead and feel out the lateral aspect of my quadricep, see how it feels different maybe from my right. Interesting, they both feel pretty similar. At least that's my perception of it right now. I think I found something a little bit more trigger point-like. Huh? Honestly, they're pretty similar between the two sides at this point. That's really interesting. Huh. All right, well, I'm just gonna enjoy finishing off with a little bit of symmetrical movement. Yeah, I think I'll do plank knees to chest. Well, I'm going to enjoy a little bit of rest here in the pool, but I think my reflection after going through this little practice today is just thinking about, I'm going to describe it like this. It almost seemed like what happened was sort of a little tug of war, if you will, for control of my kneecap between the medial aspect and the lateral aspect, and apparently that middle tracking was going okay. The tension, I guess, that really developed through the medial side was enough to cause the lateral side to try and tug the other way. So, gosh, feels like more or less symmetrical as much as I can tell for now, for today, and I'll go ahead and enjoy. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you find it helpful and informative to how you can approach your own breath and movement practice, not just in the water, but you can take, obviously, the principles work on land too. It's just a different medium. For me, I personally really enjoy being in the aquatic environment because I feel it boosts my proprioception. I spend more time really paying attention. I notice my tendencies, like when I'm not connecting, exhale fully with the abdominal contraction, it really shows up in here because I start getting a little bit more wobbly, things like that. So anyhow, thank you for watching. Take care, and we'll see you again next time.